It all started when Sally moved in. I live in the uptown neighborhood of a metro area. Used to be really swanky, back before the liberals took over. My next-door neighbor, Cardinal, is a typical bleeding heart who's too nice for her own good, and that's how she wound up with a tent pitched on her land. She claims she doesn't mind. Maybe because her yard is kind of a mess anyway. Among the rainbow flags and overgrown vegetables and all the kids' toys scattered around, there's also lots of weeds and random rocks and shit. She tells me how she finds these pretty crystals by the river. They're literally just white rocks. But as neighbors go, she's all right. Gives me tomatoes from her garden, and always invites me for a bite when she grills. She has a bad back, so to return the favor, I shovel her sidewalk in the winter. We've always been cordial, neighborly. But you know what's not neighborly? Inviting a bum to pitch a tent in your backyard for weeks. I made the mistake of being friendly about it when I first noticed the colorful nylon. Kids camping outside? Oh, that's my friend Sally, said Cardinal. She's just staying a few days till she gets back on her feet. Uh-huh. The storm clouds must have been clear on my brow, because Cardinal kept talking. It's just a few days, Frank. She lost her job, but she'll find a place. She's a good woman. A few days, huh? A few weeks later, the tent is starting to look like Sally's permanent residence. It was getting more elaborate. Piles of junk around it that the frumpy, weathered-looking woman claimed were things she planned on selling to earn a little income. Sally claimed to be an artist, making small sculptures of found objects. She told me, I take other people's junk and I make it into something beautiful. Do you have a favorite animal? I could make you one, if you like, for your yard. Why would I put garbage in my yard? I asked her how her search for housing was going. She sighed, getting teary-eyed, and told me in her nervous, mousy way that her social worker was trying but everywhere was full. The city didn't seem inclined to do anything either when I called them to complain. It's the kind of progressive city that lets people grow native plants, i.e. let the weeds take over everything, and doesn't require mowing, and gets rid of loitering laws to allow indigents to hang out smoking and drinking wherever they please. It seemed like I was just stuck with this tent and that whole goddamn menagerie of garbage animals. Then, one day, I came across the Junkman. I'd seen signs up all over the neighborhood. Junkman. We'll take any junk. Call. Once in a while from afar, I'd glimpsed a stooped, rather decrepit figure, cart off old bikes, tires, partially destroyed fences. What the Junkman got from all of this, I had no idea. There was no fee listed. Strangest thing. Anyway, one day, I spotted that tattered figure putting up signs on a telephone pole, and I called out jokingly, Hey, I got some junk you can take out. Sticking my thumb towards the tent, with its menagerie of found object sculptures. The Junkman turned to look at me over a bony shoulder. That was when I realized he was actually a she, with wild gray hair and ruby red lips. Her head, almost like an owl's, like I'd swear it was about to keep turning on that turkey neck. like a screw. And then her eyes shifted to the tent. She asked in a raspy voice, "The art, or the artist?" I chuckled. "Well, if you can take the artist, please do. Been mucking up my view for a month now." She nodded. "Hey, how come you call yourself Junkman if you're a woman?" "Better for business. No one will call an old woman to haul junk." Fair enough. Fast forward a few days. I heard my neighbor outside calling and calling for Sally. Apparently, the artist had vanished, seemingly into thin air, but had left all of her stuff, including the tent. Honestly, I assumed that Sally had gotten worried about winter and moved on, leaving poor Cardinal with the mess to clean up. I asked Cardinal if we should try calling the Junkman to deal with a tent. Cheaper than renting a dumpster. Oh my gosh, was she around here? I keep tearing down her posters. She's bad news. Haven't you heard the rumors? When I shook my head, Cardinal said, "I don't like to speak ill of people, but my friend Joan, she said her ex-boyfriend hated her dog and asked the Junkman to take it. The next day it disappeared. She'll take anything. They say she uses some sort of witchcraft and takes a piece of your soul in exchange for disappearing the junk. There's all these extra terms and conditions written in invisible ink on her flyers. Look at them under a black light if you want to freak yourself out." "Huh," I said. I didn't really believe any of this. I assumed it was just a coincidence that Sally had vanished, even though the Junkman left me a little gift. It was a small object sculpture of a deer, and attached to it was a card. "Thanks for your business, Junkman." What a creeper. After Cardinal cleared away the tent, I thought that would be the end of things. But her yard was still full of all those found object animals. The most ostentatious, an eagle with discarded fan blades for the feathers of its lethal-looking metal wings, was poised as if about to swoop right onto my porch. I asked her when she was planning to get rid of them, but she said they exuded Sally's spirit, and anyway, she could decorate her yard how she wished. Well, I hadn't been planning to call the Junkman, but the note had a number on the back, so I gave it a ring. Got the voicemail, telling me to leave a message explaining the junk I'd like removed, and that the fee was merely a small sliver of your soul. Hilarious. I left a message about the artwork. It disappeared overnight. Whoa. Now, granted, I still thought her being a witch was hookum, but her cleaning powers were impressive. And I mean, all I had to do was make a phone call. It was just so easy. I didn't mean to keep calling her, but I'd see stuff around town. 2 doors down, the elderly couple had these rusted, broken appliances outside their house that for some reason they'd never thrown out. Made the whole street look bad. The Junkman took those away. A little further on, at the co-op where I did my shopping, panhandlers were always sitting outside with signs, hurting the local businesses and harassing customers for money, probably to feed their drug habits. What are people like that but trash? I asked the Junkman to clean them up. Oh, new ones came in to take their place, but I wished them away too. I got rid of graffiti, dog owners who didn't pick up their dog's shit, and even a gang of Kia-stealing teens terrorizing the neighborhood. One quick phone call and boom, no more stolen cars. Each time, I'd receive another of those horrible found object sculptures, always with a note attached thanking me for my business. Everything was great. Until yesterday. See, yesterday, my neighbor Cardinal knocked on my door to confront me. In her hand was a small sculpture of a dog. It took me a moment to realize she'd picked it up off my front step, and that attached to it was the Junkman's usual card. The Junkman. Cardinal looked at me piercingly. "You've been calling the Junkman? Why does she leave Sally's sculptures for you as a calling card? Did you call her about Sally? Are you the reason Sally disappeared? I'm keeping this sculpture. Something to remember her. Seeing as all the other art I had of hers out in my yard has gone missing, along with so many other things that, I guess, were junk to you." Now, hang on. But she stormed off my porch, the dog sculpture in hand. Over her shoulder, she shouted, "Whatever happens, you brought this on yourself." I rushed back inside and dialed the number. I had to, didn't I? She had the card. If she called first, if she called and told the Junkman to take me. When I hung up, I sighed, my heart thumping and my chest tight. Empty. But it was her or me. I had to do it. Next morning, I was sitting on my porch when one of Cardinal's kids came bouncing out of the school bus as if everything was normal. Shit, I totally forgot about her children. But then, a few minutes later, I saw Cardinal herself. Her lips thinned when she noticed me, and she looked away and overtly ignored me. Still pissed at me, and also still very much not disappeared. Why'd the Junkman not taken her away? I called, leaving several messages. Finally, on my 5th call, I was surprised when a raspy voice actually answered. I immediately demanded to know if my previous messages had been received.
"Your messages were received."
So what's going on? Did Cardinal call first and ask you to junk me?
"She has never called this number and never will."
Okay. Well, can I ask you why you didn't carry out my request?
"You have insufficient currency."
Insufficient? Wait, but there's no charge. I exclaimed, suddenly indignant at new fees I was just now hearing about. But even as I said that, I remembered the phrase I dismissed each time I heard it over the voicemail. And now, the person on the other end was chuckling, and kept chuckling, deeper and deeper. It didn't sound like an old woman's voice at all. Didn't sound remotely human as it explained.
"There is a charge. Each transaction has a small cost. You have made a number of transactions. And now, you have insufficient currency."
The voice trailed off now into peals of terrible, awful laughter. And I slammed the phone down. And now here I am, wondering, how do I earn back my currency? Is there any way to reverse the charges? If each time the fee was A small sliver of your soul. What does that mean? When she tells me I have insufficient currency,